don't have a whole lot of this, but I did want to cover it a little bit. It does come up for discussion on, what should we do with our medications. And we do recommend that we do summarize prior medications and concomitant medications. And the main rationale for this, the purpose of it, would be to understand the population under study a little bit more, just to know what kind of medications they're taking for the prior meds. For concomitant meds, the main purpose is to understand if there's an imbalance on what type of medications your drug group and placebo group are taking. If there's an imbalance of a particular med, that would be important to know when you look at your adverse event lab tables, right? Because you might need to know whether or not that some of those shifts or some of those changes could be due to an imbalance in medication. So that's the primary purpose and why we would look at concomitant medications. So I guess I skipped over it, but for the recommendation is we only have that for the control period, right? So why would we not care about the uncontrolled period? Well, for concomitant meds, if the main purpose is to understand if there's an imbalance in meds, well, uncontrolled data, a summary of concomitant meds, I'm not sure what you do with that. I mean, somebody might find it useful, but more often than not, that it's only important when you do case reviews. Like if there's a person who has an event of interest, medical wants to look at it, then they can look to see what meds they take. But a group level summary with uncontrolled data doesn't have a lot of value. So one common pitfall is to forget about that all-important patient profile, because we do have data collection people that will say, well, you don't have a table plan for concomitant meds with that open label data, so why are we collecting it? Right? A lot of people like to say, well, you shouldn't collect anything unless you have a planned group level summary for it. Well, we are saying that just because we don't have a group level summary planned for uncontrolled data doesn't mean it's important. It is important to know what concomitant meds patients are taking for individual case reviews. And so if somebody has an event in that phase, you need to know what they're taking. All right, one of the things that we talked a lot about in our version 2 of the demographics disposition medication white paper was the choice between medication preferred names and ATC codes, anatomical something, I don't know what it stands for, but it's more of a group of medications. This is one area, if you are planning medication summaries, I would encourage you to read that and get to know ATC codes. Do not act like they're not the same as the MEDRA hierarchy. It's very different, and I think it's a common pitfall to think of ATC codes like the MEDRA hierarchy. So what happens is the same medication might go to different ATC codes depending on what it's used for, right? So a lot of people think they want ATC codes until they know what it's doing, right? And once they learn, oh, well, these medications can go to different ATC codes, that's not what I want, right? So now some companies might go ahead and put a medication toward every ATC code it could possibly go to, right? And then that can be confusing as well. So there's pros and cons to all these choices, and our white paper goes through quite a bit of those pros and cons. The current state is your average person who's planning medication tables don't have a clue. They don't have a clue about how ATC coding works, and people really need to know that so that they can make an informed decision. Our general advice is use preferred name, right? Just because ATC code doesn't necessarily going to meet your needs, what people think it is. All right, disposition, I'm sneaking one in. There's a listing that we recommend that's not part of predominant practice, probably. So I just wanted to point it out. We do recommend a listing of subjects who discontinue due to physician decision, withdrawal by subject, or withdrawal by parent, guardian, or other. These are these decision-related reasons, right? So it's not the adverse event efficacy, so forth. This historically has been a source of suspicion, right, to an FDA clinical reviewer or other clinical reviewers to say, well, what's going on, right? They're suspicious that they're really discontinuing for an adverse event or for efficacy, but it's hidden, under one of these decision-related reasons, and they probably have every reason to be suspicious because sometimes collection is a little floppy, right? So the idea is that while the study is ongoing, hopefully the site is well trained, right? That if if it is safety or efficacy related, they better use one of those reasons and not one of these. So even when they're well trained, you might be in a position to have to prove that they were well trained, right? Prove that there's nothing hidden under those reasons. And so we do recommend this listing where you just list out everybody who has one of these reasons. We recommend that in collection, right? If somebody has one of these reasons, in collection, there's a specified field that actually writes out what their reason is. And hopefully it's something like moved away or, some real unrelated thing to efficacy or safety. And then we would have that be in the listing. And the idea is this listing would prove that there's nothing being hidden with adverse events of efficacy. And I don't think this listing is necessarily part of predominant practice, but we do recommend it. And part of it is if you don't do this listing, then you might get asked to maybe write narratives for all these paid people in your submission. And we think that's overkill to need to do that, just to be able to prove that we don't have something hidden. So we discourage being asked for narratives for this when we think the main purpose can be addressed with a pretty simple listing.